And realize there's nothing evil about the word Pharisee itself. In old Israel, there were two divisions of the ruling body of the religious leaders over the group, the Pharisees and the Sadducees. The Pharisees were the conservatives. They believed in the Bible, they believed in the Torah, they believed in the Messiah. They believed in God firmly. They believed in obeying the law. The Sadducees, on the other hand, were what we would call liberal. They didn't believe in an afterlife. They did not believe in angels or a spiritual life. Their idea was, what you see here is what it is. When you die, you're done for. So there was a great disagreement between the Sadducee viewpoint and the Pharisees. Now, the problem with the Pharisees that got them upside down with Jesus was that their opinion of what the Messiah should be did not in any way resemble what they saw when they met Jesus. The other thing was that they believed that their salvation was due to their, and by the way, when I say them, I mean generally speaking, there were some of them who did not think wrong. But generally speaking, they believed that their salvation was based on their good works, their obedience to the law. So they were extremely careful to obey the law in the literal sense. They could not see into the spiritual depth of it, but they interpreted everything, what the apostle later called the letter of the law, just exactly what it said. For example, it says that they were to give 1/10 of their produce into the temple. So, or a tithe. Well, they would take that to such degree that Jesus said they would even tithe mint leaves. If they had a bag of mint, they would dump it out of the table and count the leaves and calculate exactly what 1/10 of it was, and that they would give to the temple. Well, the Lord realized that's just foolishness. The real essence of the meaning of it was that all we have belongs to God, and that this 10th just simply represented a willingness to give to God what God wanted. But they couldn't see that, and so in their interpretation of everything literally, for example, when Jesus and his disciples were strolling along a trail one day, as they were talking, it happened to be on a Sabbath day. They weren't going very far because you couldn't go far, but a little short stroll. They passed through a field of barley or wheat, and as they're chatting, some of the disciples picked a little top off a wheat thing and were chewing on it as they talked. And the Pharisees interpreted it as harvesting the wheat, and you're doing that on the Sabbath day. You can't work on the Sabbath, so therefore you should be stoned to death for picking a little top off of grain and chewing on it. And of course, their concept was so far beyond what the Lord wanted. And when we see people today that only thing they can seem to think of is a very legalistic obedience to rules, but not really having the heart to see what does God really mean by this, rather just enforcing rules on people and on themselves. And when they do, they realize they never really fully obey, so they always live under a cloud of guilt because they know they can't really do it, and they impose guilt on others, and they feel condemned, and they're filled with fear and hopelessness, and it's never a happy way. But when we finally realize what the Lord really means by these rules, that he just wants us to see who he is and know him and put our confidence in his righteousness instead of our own, we get rescued from that Phariseeism. I've been there, probably most of us have.